welcome to Body Temple. This is the art of seduction. I'm really excited for today's practice because I believe that seduction, desire, playfulness are at the base of us being able to really express the fullness that we have inside of ourselves, explore all of our potential, and then just step into life with a fuck yes, that I'm ready no matter what, no matter what's happening around me, that I'm ready for my full life. I'm ready for my full orgasm. I'm ready for my turn on so that I can live in this place of turn on and really be present, not be in the shadows, not be in shame, not hide away, but really trust the fullness of who we are. So I want to just do a check-in this morning to see where you beauties are and see how Body Temple has been landing for you so far. So we're going to start off a little bit different, and then we'll go into a little meditation, and then of course into our practice. So awesome. So let's, so I want to hear from you. Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say this has been amazing. I feel a lot more confidence and a lot more self-awareness, a lot more clarity with everything that's going on right now. You know, things are just weird. It's hard to know where you stand. And know what the future holds right now. It's very rocky. And, you know, it kind of messed with my yoga routine and my meditation routine. And, but this has taught me that I can bring all that stuff at home with me. And it, has taught me to like really take care of myself and make sure I have my own practice and not expect other people to, you know, I guess, take care of me. I guess I didn't realize. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I realized for a long time I had that expectancy until I started doing this Body Temple class, and we started doing a lot of our own like nurturing exercises and really diving into ourself, and brought up a lot like that I thought, you know, I'm an independent woman, you know, and then like I'm doing these exercises and I'm like, whoa, I might be a little bit more dependent than I want to admit. And it's good for me to realize that, because then I'm not like blaming it, like it's taken a lot of blame away. So I feel so much growth. I'm glad that I did it again the second time. You know, just because the first time it was just kind of like I felt like it was so new. I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. But this time it's like, I really feel it like seeping in and like changing things. The confidence in me, the self-awareness in me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for expressing that.
Thank you.
You are that confident woman. You are sovereign. And it's so beautiful because we get to experience the practices as an opportunity for us to learn and to see that, oh, okay, there's more space for me to expand into. There's some places where I was contracted or holding back. And that's all we're doing. We're just getting more free, more and more and more free all the time. Thank you for that. Yeah, thanks. All right, who's next? Who wants to share? You just put your hand up, or yay, go for it. Thanks.
So thank you. I have to start with that for you. My intention for the year was to dive a little bit deeper into the seasons, not just of the earth, but that I go through within my cycle and my body, and how to harmonize those two in a more state of awareness. And so I feel like this is bridging such a big gap for that. I know with like the Shakti Titties part, I was in my summer, you know, I was ovulating, and so it was just perfectly timed to like touch myself and just like get into it. And so I loved being able to connect these practices to my inner seasons, my inner feelings. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I have right now, because it's like when I'm in my ovulation, it's just like it feels so good to do that practice. It just like meshed so well. So I'm loving to like drop, like when you say to drop in, I'm like, oh, this is what my body needs in this time in my cycle. And it fulfilled just so much that I needed in that time. And then, you know, we go into that breathing on Monday, and, you know, I'm still summer, you know, I'm halfway in between like falling into my fall, my hormones are starting to drop. So just breathing into that like felt really good. So it's just kind of timing in with where my body is at. And I'm so excited to bring this into next month, you know, when I have that next season, and I can be like, oh, you know, like, because I always feel like I want to dance and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is the practice. That's the practice I needed to make that connection of my body, the seasons of the earth, the seasons of my cycle, and then just to embody it. So it was that piece that I've asked for and had that intention for the year, to just like, how can I really feel it? You know, I can know it. I know what my body is doing. I can understand that part, but like to have a practice, I'm so grateful for, because it feels so good. It's like a coming home to like, you know, it's what I needed this year, you know. So thank you. That's what I've taken so far. I'm so excited for the rest.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing. As you were sharing, I'm looking around and I can see other faces like, what? That's amazing. Connecting to the seasons, connecting to your inner season, really connecting to yourself. Thank you so much for taking this like so deep, and for giving yourself permission and like making the request, sending the request out to the universe to say that this is what my desire is for this year, to connect like fully. And you mentioned something I think is super important, is that we know so much, right? Like on an intellectual and cognitive level, like we know, like, oh, okay, we know we quote unquote should be doing this kind of thing, or oh, we should be, but the next level to that is like, how do we actually drop it in? How do we actually give ourselves the permission to feel all of the feelings and actually go into our body? Like on one level, we're like, okay, I should be doing this. I'm signing up for this course. I'm going to do this thing. But there's something that sometimes stops us. And if we don't come in with that mindset of like, no, I'm going in anyways. I'm going to go in. I'm going into those different seasons. I'm going into my own earth. I'm digging in. I'm going to start to really cultivate, you know, the soil here so that something beautiful can blossom and grow from this. And you're doing that for yourself. You're giving yourself that permission. I have found, and let me know if this is true for you all as well, but I have found that I have to give myself that permission over and over and over again, because one day I might show up super open and I'm ready. And other days I wake up, I don't know what happened while I was sleeping, but all of a sudden I feel a little shut down or a little bit closed. And I have to do some work to like bring myself back up again, even though I can feel this desire to stay closed or to stay inward for whatever reason. So I'm having to, it's like this constant, give yourself permission, lean in to the extent that you can that day, to the extent that you can that month or that year, or whatever's happening inside your life, right? And to like be willing to do it in a way that doesn't feel like punitive or that you're forcing it, but that you're doing it from a place of true love for yourself, because you know the benefits and how wonderful and nurturing it is for you and also for all of your relationships. Right? What are your thoughts on that? Can you relate to that kind of closure sometimes and having to reopen? Yeah.
all the time, especially like, you know, when my energy levels are falling or dipping and things like that. Like, you don't want to experience those things. You want to kind of go just stay in this like shell almost. And so just to remember how good it feels, you know, to come out and like feel it. I'm holding on to that a lot. So
that's another important question. And I appreciate you all working with me through this part, because I think that this is so beneficial for all of us. And now I talked and put more words to it, but you just said something. Can you repeat that one more time? That last part you said something was so good, and I started talking.
Just holding on to that, the goodness, holding on
That's
to the good feeling of what it feels like to come out.
Yes, that right there.
To come out of that shell or whatever that barrier it kind of feels like sometimes.
So what do you do to remember that? Like, how do each of you might have something different, so chime in. You know, you don't have to hold back. I want to hear from everybody. What do you do to remember how good it felt, how, you know, how restorative, rejuvenative, whatever words you want to put to it, on those times where you feel like, I just want to close down, or the voices in our head tell us whatever, and you know what I mean? So what do you do to remember the goodness? What's your practice?
For me personally, I go back to like self-pleasure. For me, like it has to do with activating. I think the womb space has to be like flowing with that energy and stuff like that. So I love like the self massage, or like I'll ask like my husband for like a back massage, feet massage. I just think for me it's like feeling good in my body, but at the same time like my body has to be like, it's like it's activating in a certain sense to be touched, whether I'm touching myself or have someone else touch me. I like that physical activation almost.
Yeah, physical activation, so good. Self-pleasure, sisters, if you are not self-pleasuring on a regular basis for fun, for joy, for expression, if you feel contracted and if you want to just open your body up, you're ready to move into sex magic, if that's where you are in your practice also. Self-pleasure is one of the most powerful tools to help us to open up and to release and to remember our goodness. I love that. Just a little quick share. I've shared this before publicly, but I really enjoy self-pleasuring even before I go into a coaching session, because it helps me to be more like open and not blocked or contracted. And I feel like in that way I get to connect with bliss and joy, and so that I can be that much more present in my session in a way that's really loving and open-hearted and open-pussied. You know, like my womb is really open, and so all of those creative juices just really get to flow. It's so wonderful having a beautiful self-pleasure. Also, love if you're asking for touch. Part of today's practice is going to be about different ways that we can touch. How do we fire up our body? How do we bring more cooling? How do we bring more water? What are those kind of touches that we'd like to experience in our body? And also, sometimes if we have a partner who is not really familiar with these kind of practices, how do we then also touch them in a way that helps them to understand and learn how to touch, and all these different variations of touch. So really love that. Yeah, thank you so much for those shares.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Janica, how do you feel? Would you like to just share how you're doing so far with our body temple practice? Hi.
Hi, sorry, I am all over the place this morning, but I was like, I missed Monday. I just need to listen in, even if I'm walking around.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
But yeah, no, I've loved everything that everybody has said so far. And I think the main thing for me, again, it was perfect that Jennifer had told me about this, because the last couple months specifically, I've been working a lot on my root chakra and my sacral chakra, because I've done really well with my crown and my throat and my heart. And so this has been perfect, because I even had a massage yesterday where she was like, okay, again, just make sure. So the thing that has hit home the most to me is how you engage in the upper chakras is different than the sacral and the root, and it's the senses. So just like Ashley sharing with like the earth and just all the elements, they're very sensual because it's touching the senses. And a lot of times I struggle with allowing myself to just be in the human physical sensing. And so, yeah, this has helped bring up a lot of those triggers and those pieces of, okay, I get to clear this and work through this. So yeah, it's an amazing and beautiful and all the things.
And all the things. I love that. Yes. All the things. Yes. Oh, what a beautiful expression about your awareness into the difference between engaging with the upper triangle and the lower triangle. And I just refer to that as, you know, the upper parts, the heart, the throat, and actually really like this throat, the third eye, and then the crown center, and the heart being like that rainbow bridge that connects all of it, right? Like that's that. And then the lower parts of the chakra and how different that is, and how many triggers and how many different things are going to come up. And I love also that you mentioned sense, you know, the sensuality in it. I love that piece of sense-uality, right? Like where we are using all of the senses. How do we use and engage all of our senses to sense who we are and who we are becoming and who we have been designed to be in order for us to bring earth, right, and heaven together. It's like, this is our physical body. We, you know, the tantric tradition tells us, this path tells us that we can't bypass the body. Like the body is such a gift. It's such a gift. And so like, let's uncover all of these beautiful gifts within the body by, you know, just scouring the map, all of the different places through touch, through sensuality, through pleasure and play, and also not running from pain, but recognizing where we can breathe into all the spaces where pain is, to start expanding that and dissipating that so that it becomes less dense. When we are not willing to look at the shadow parts, when we're unwilling to look at the blocks or the triggers, many of us have had experiences with that. I know in the past, if I've been triggered by something, I just shut it down. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to feel that. But if we don't look at the trigger as a way to get closer to ourselves and also to be able to move up, bringing heaven and earth together, we won't break through that dense block. And if we can't break through that dense block that's represented by the trigger, we won't be able to become more subtle and be able to expand into the subtle realms. That's why, like, most people want to live. I want to live from the heart up. We want to be happy. We want to be joyful. We want to do all this stuff, right? We want to be super spiritual because that's what we want, because our spirit knows that we are. It's our body that is having the spiritual experience. And yet it's like, what the fuck? This is a lot. I don't even know how to human. I don't even know if I want to be a human. You know, like we haven't committed to fully being a human because it's uncomfortable. And so it's like, nah, I'm just going to check out. I'd rather like be here. So then we get into like bypassing because it's so much more comfortable, but it's not. Because it's a facade and it's an illusion, right? It becomes just like this vacation or like this desire to get away from the body, get away from the true self, then we don't get to really experience our true self in all of the seasons and all of our essence. Mm-hmm. And so I love and appreciate your input, and I believe that all of us are creating this together. All of us are creating this experience together for all of us to expand deeper into our humanity and into, yes, our pleasure, but really into the full potential of who each of us are. If we forget, like if we just for a moment can say, I'm doing these practices, yes, so that I can experience the fullness of my body, love my body, whatever shape it is in. I can love myself regardless of my past, regardless of where I think that I'm supposed to be and I'm not, whatever those things are. If I can just love myself so fully that eventually I am going to start breaking free. The more that you break free, the more I break free, the more that the rest of us around begin to break free. Does that make sense? We're healing each other. We're healing each other. We're helping to heal our planet. We're helping each other to remember. And I feel like if we can be the torch carriers, the ones who are willing to go down into the dark to do the work, right? Like so many people have done for us also. Like if we can keep carrying that torch and keep doing the work, wow, what a blessed humanity. So